Hello everyone, my name is Bridget, and today I wanted to share some helpful tools, some frameworks, particularly for these times of challenge or these times of ups and downs of cycles that have been helpful for me, that also will probably be helpful for you, as spiritual frameworks and philosophical frameworks to meet life with whatever is coming up. So the first thing to begin with that's just really helpful to note, and I just feel like the older I get, the more this becomes true and just an experiential thing that we can rely on, which is the idea that life moves in cycles. And there are ups, there are downs, right? There are times of economic challenge, and then there's times of great and plenty. Like there's all of these ebbs and flows. And even in our day-to-day lives, there's cycles. In Buddhism, they like to talk about how the different mental thoughts that come or the different challenges that come are like storms. And that they say that like we are the sky, like I am the sky, I am eternal. But then there's these storms that come through, like thunderstorms that are crazy, or sometimes it's just windy with a lot of thoughts. And when we can be in that space of having that higher context, that macrocosmic perspective, paradoxically at the same time when we're in it in a moment or when we're in it in a cycle of life, it's very, very helpful to live in that moment, in that point of witnessing from that bigger perspective, and then paradoxically, acknowledging what's coming up, being in it. And sometimes in spirituality, it can get very bypassy, which New Age spirituality, it can get bypassy where it's just like, everything's fine. I'm just going to stay high vibe, or I'm going to just be neutral. And that's not also real to the human experience. Like life is an initiation. The things that come up in our lives, however challenging or horrendous, like it is a part of the life spiritual initiation, and it's meant to be met. It's meant to be met emotionally. It's meant to be met mentally. Like it's okay, like all those things to feel. And if we can stay connected to that eternal space within us, then we're going to be able to navigate things just a bit better. So I want to jump in here just for a second before we get into some of the other great tips and details into if you're needing a timeout on the field, which is an important aspect of this concept, is when things just get too much, you don't have the nervous system capacity, or it's just in a space of overwhelm, we need to call time out on the field of life and take a step back and get some perspective. And that can get us back into that divine space as well. I have a special that I made for you, 1-day at-home retreat. And it's this great itinerary for you to take a step out and to follow that itinerary, to turn things off and to really connect and get back into this bigger space, to reflect, to just have silence, to have stillness. And so I have that in my free MP3 link down below. It's one of the gifts that'll come to you, and it'll just be so helpful at this time. I just got back from a 10-day silent retreat in Spain. Oh man, and I was long overdue for that. I needed that, I swear, like a couple of years ago, because we need these certain nutrients, especially when things get busier and just life right now on Earth, because things are so hyperstimulated and loud and lots is happening. It's really, really helpful to take these times and spaces out to be still, to be silent. These are medicines that we need as humans, and it puts everything back into perspective. And if anything, when things are shaken up, when you shake up the snowball, or when the water is mucky because things are moving, then you can't see, it's not clear, right? But when we create stillness, when we create silence, that dust in our lives, that chaos or that overstimulation, just the intensity of things, it settles. Like there's a filtration process that also happens in our consciousness, in the waters of our body, that creates then, in that stillness, clear water, which means clarity. It will create clarity and insight. And oftentimes that's how we can then move out of these challenging cycles, and we can shift to where we can move into a more positive cycle after things have been challenging for a certain time in whatever given category of life. I also want to share, in addition to this free at-home retreat, that I have the new dates for my Sedona Renewal Retreat coming up next February in 2026. It's going to be very nourishing, that stillness, that renewal, that connection with other people, but also that stillness and that rejuvenation in the winter time when we really need to be like reflecting, chilling, meditating, reconnecting, listening to higher guidance. And so if you'd like to come to that, please check it out down below and you can register to reserve your spot. I find that this is more relevant than ever, in these times right now. And I've lived long enough to live through other ones, right? Like the economic crash of 2008. And our family lost all of the family money at that time. It was a big, down time. And we learned from those things. It sculpted who I am. I do what I do today because of that happening, with our family. And so there's treasures that can be gained from these different levels of resilience, different new levels of inspiration. And so wherever you're at right now, in whatever category of life, learn from it. Use the challenge, use the rock bottom, use this overstimulation to be more resilient, to be adaptive, to change ways of doing things. And then if you don't need to be in the muck, you can also change it and leave or adjust if that's possible. And so, for instance, I've been living for the past 3 years with my partner out in rural East Texas. It is not my cup of iced tea, but I've been utilizing it to develop certain aspects of myself. And this is what it's needed to be this time. I've used it as a spiritual initiation. And then the time comes where it goes, now it's time to leave, and now it's time to change and to move into something that is more resonant. And when we do this, and when we utilize these times, say, of challenge in whatever respective category it is, and we can see it for what it is, the storm moving through on the horizon of our infinite sky, of who we are in the big scheme of things, then when the sun shines again, and when the stars come out, and all of the goodness things happen, the gratitude, the appreciation is so different. And, having a young nephew and seeing how kids grow up, where does appreciation really come from? And I've noticed that it comes from contrast, and that it comes from the, not lack, but the contrast of not having something that then makes us appreciative of something. So if life is naturally, leaning things out in certain categories or making things not as prevalent, then when they come back, oh my gosh, then we can have that gratitude and that appreciation, which is so, so helpful. Again, especially in these times where it's we can do and have everything at the drop of a hat and the click of a button. It's nice to come back into that relative perspective. And so we can utilize, right now, these times, these different cycles of life or things that you're in, to make the most of it so that when, the sun shines, we can really relish in the warmth of it and give our thanks to it and not take things for granted, because that can so easily happen in today's culture. And so we can really utilize that appreciation. So there's a lot here, little tips along the way, and I hope you munch on those. Please comment down below and let me know which one was helpful for you. The idea of moving into that greater macrocosmic space when the storms are coming through in our daily lives or in certain cycles of time, and not getting too caught up in them, taking times out when we need it, having that contrast create appreciation, realizing that life is an initiation. This is what we're here for, is for the experience itself and meeting it. And this too shall pass. These cycles ebb and flow. And so let's make the most of them and learn from them as best as we can to adapt, to become more resilient, to become more strengthened and more appreciative, and utilize the underbelly of what's happening in the collective as a crucible to create diamonds, to forge something new within us, and simultaneously taking those steps out for that peace, that stillness, that quietude, to filter things out, to get clear, because this ship ain't stopping. Like, the collective things are moving on such a big level right now that it's up to us to take that time and space that we need to continue to be rebalanced and show up in the best way we can. So I hope this has been helpful. It's so good to see you. Please comment down below. Be sure to subscribe. Go get my 1-day at-home free retreat on the free MP3 download down there that'll come to you in an email. It's so nourishing and so fun. It's a amalgamation of all of my different retreat experiences that I've hosted and that I've received. And so be sure to go get that. And if you want to join me and a group of incredible people in Sedona in February in that renewal space of winter, please also go register for that. Okay, I'll talk to you next time. Thank you. Bye.